Hey guys, those of you who watch a lot of TikTok and Instagram Reels will know by now that entrepreneurship is the only path in life that you need to be successful, to achieve your goals, and live in true freedom. Or is it? What we probably heard growing up is that entrepreneurship is risky and that working a full-time job is probably a safer option. Now it seems that the narrative on social media is the complete opposite, that if you work in a 9-to-5 job, then you're getting nowhere, and that if you really want to be someone, get somewhere in life and be successful, you need to be an entrepreneur. Ultimately, I think there are misconceptions and myths on both sides of the debate, and in this video, I'm going to break down some of those myths, with the goal of coming up with a much more balanced perspective of what entrepreneurship really is. So, let's get into the video. So let's get right into it with myth number one, which is that entrepreneurship is risky. Now, what is this essentially based in? Well, if you take a 9-to-5 job and if you take entrepreneurship, if you look at the characteristics and compare them. So you have a full-time job of a stable income coming in on a monthly basis. Depending on the size of the business, typically, the bigger companies, you've got some kind of guaranteed sense of continuity of your job because the business activity is most likely going to be able to continue on day to day. Whereas the argument that entrepreneurship is risky comes on the fact that, income can vary from month to month. You've got to do all the work, build up your business, and your efforts might not pay off in the end. You're also perhaps competing with some of these bigger players, which will make it very difficult for you to be successful. Obviously, though, the world today has changed a lot since we started hearing those things, the advent of the internet, social media. If you truly have a quality product or business, then it is easier to get yourself out there, get yourself heard, get yourself seen, and attract clients. At the same time, stability in certain professions and certain companies is waning as well. We've seen a whole lot of tech layoffs this year. So it, raises the question of if you're in a full-time job, are you immune to layoffs or losing that job at some point because of change in economic circumstances, business priorities, etc. If I had to give my overall opinion on whether entrepreneurship is risky or not, I would say it very much depends on the business you're doing and what your personal circumstances are. Say for instance, you have a full-time job, you've got that guaranteed income, but on the side, you're doing something online, like you're selling products or you're dog sitting or child sitting, and you get some money coming in additionally, then it's not necessarily risky because you've got a stable source of income coming in from your job, where your side hustles to fail. And your side hustles as well, they're not innovative new ideas that have not been tried and tested. As I say, if you manage your side hustle correctly, you put yourself out there, you have the word of mouth, you have the references to get you around, then your business, your side hustle activity will be able to continue to support you over time, and there'll be little risk, unless you decide to stop it or there's some drastic change in external circumstances. Then again, it's unlikely that you're going to be impacted. Compare that with someone who's left their full-time job, who's got 12 months of savings and wants to come up with like the next Elon Musk-like idea for a tech company. Then of course that's two very different levels of risk because it's an untried, untested product. This person is banking everything on the fact that their idea works. So because the definition of an entrepreneur can vary, I think it very much depends on what kind of venture it is you're doing as to what level of risk is associated with your activity. So let's switch over to the other side of the debate, which is entrepreneurship is the path to getting wealthy. Now, the traditional thought behind this is, if you're in a full-time job and you have a salary, you won't probably see much more money than that salary. Your income is capped. Sure, you might get a bonus, you might get some additional perks and stuff, but pretty much what you're going to be earning month on month. Whereas if you're an entrepreneur, and particularly if you have a scalable business, then the potential for income growth is uncapped. It's unlimited. You could be making $1,000 in sales one month, $10,000 the next. There's nothing to stop you earning $1 million. Obviously this is a simplified assumption, but you get the idea that I'm coming with. And so entrepreneurship is now being pitched as like the fast track to freedom, the best way to get wealthy. And though I do generally agree with this part of the argument, because if you compare, income growth that you have full control over in your business with uncapped potential to investing in stocks or in real estate or whatever, which generally takes a lot more time to build up wealth in, then the argument does somewhat work. Nevertheless, it only really works in two cases. So the first is to have a scalable business where for essentially the same amount of time and effort, you can reach the same number of people. So YouTube is a perfect example of this, where I could spend 10 hours making a video and it could reach 2,000 people or it could reach 200,000 people. And I've put put in the same amount of work. So if you were to take my income with 2,000 subscribers divided by the amount of time I put in on this channel, then the hourly rate that comes out is probably not going to be that high. Whereas if you were to do it with 200,000 people, then I'm sure you'll see a big difference. And this is where the value comes in. I can work for 10 hours a day, 10 hours a week or whatever, and could be making, tens of thousands of euros, just as an example, of course. And the second way to get rich is essentially through an exit strategy. So if you build a startup, you have a company, your exit strategy could be you get bought out by a competitor, you list on the stock market for an IPO, and then as a result, you either receive a lot of money from being bought out or from keeping your shares and your company gets revalued. Then you essentially have a really high net worth because of your company's value and your stake in that company. So with those two examples, you still end up leaving out a lot of entrepreneurs. For example, someone who's a private tutor, someone who is a hairdresser, someone who does, homework like electricity or plumbing or stuff like that. These people will probably still get paid good money for what they do and are still entrepreneurs, but are they going to be, multi-millionaire businessmen? Probably not. Not to say that they won't, but more likely than not, they'll work their hours, do the work that they need, and they'll have the income they need to sustain their business and to sustain their lifestyle, which is perfectly fine as well. And at the same time, you've obviously got professions in a company where you can be employed and you can earn a lot of money as well. Think back to the video I did where I talked about careers in like financial services, if you're working in M&A or investment banking, or more recently roles like, a software developer or a programmer, for example. These roles are very, very well paid, and you can easily build up a lot of wealth in these roles. But unless in the case of like a software developer or a programmer, you're freelance, more likely than not, these roles, you're going to find them as employees working for a company. So to draw that together, there's no one clear-cut way to get wealthy. You could be an entrepreneur and not end up wealthy, or you could be an employee and you could end up wealthy. The third myth I want to debunk is that entrepreneurs have to live a particular kind of lifestyle. Now, on one hand, people might think, an entrepreneur works from the moment they wake up, from the moment they go to sleep. They have no free time, and every minute of the day is spent working on their business. Or you have other people who think that, an entrepreneur should wake up at 5 a.m., should be in the gym, should have done, hours of work before the day's even started, and that will help them get ahead and be successful in their business. I think neither of these arguments are completely true. Yes, they have some truth to them. Like if you're an entrepreneur, you are going to have to spend more time probably than an employee focusing on your business, just because of the sheer amount of tasks that are involved and because of the responsibility you have as a business owner. And of course, there are health benefits with going to the gym and, doing deep focused work and stuff like that can work for some people. Some people like to wake up early and get work done. That's fine. Other people like to go to bed really late and get all their ideas done late at night. Also fine. But is your success or failure in business truly dependent on these things? No, I don't think so. What I've observed through doing work with my YouTube channel and what I think is the correct conclusion for this is that you get out what you put in with your business. There have been times when I've been super focused on YouTube. I've put out a load of videos. I've really focused on getting my content correct, and it's taken a lot more of my free time. And I've seen the results. I've seen the channel growth that comes with that. And at the same time, there's been times when I really just haven't given as much to my YouTube channel. I've been busy or distracted, or I just haven't felt it. And I've seen my YouTube, my views stagnate, the growth slows down. So what I think it comes down to is you finding a balance of what works in your life. You might have family commitments you need to look out for. You might have hobbies that you want to do. You might want to just focus full time on your business. However works for you, I think is fine. If you put in just a little bit of effort and you don't get that much output, but it keeps your business afloat, if that's what you want, then great. If you want more for your business, if you want it to grow, if you need to put in that extra time, then be prepared to put in that extra time. It's all about your input to output ratio at the end of the day. And the last myth I want to debunk, my opinion goes completely against the grain here, but I'm going to come out with it anyway, is that entrepreneurship is the path to true freedom. Now, what's caught on with a lot of people that's talked about a lot by social media influencers is being able to escape your 9-to-5 job, being able to be free from the rat race. And by doing so, you become free and you've achieved ultimate freedom in life. And though this idea does hold some truth, my issue is with the word freedom and the subjectivity of it. And whilst you're free from having to go to work from 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, and having to have someone telling you what to do, you're not free from the fact that you still have a business to run, you have responsibilities, you have clients that essentially want jobs done for you. And any half-decent entrepreneur will recognize that and recognize that there is responsibility and effort required from their part. So in that sense, I wouldn't necessarily consider that, freedom. It is a kind of freedom when you compare it to the 9-to-5 lifestyle, But rather than it being, you're completely free, you do what you want, you do it how you want, I prefer to say that, you work on your terms. You still have stuff to do. You have responsibilities. You have clients that need looking after, but you determine how you manage them. I think being your own boss as well definitely comes with its challenges, particularly if you're a perfectionist or if you're very driven and motivated, then you're going to be very hard on yourself and you're going to push yourself to do better, which can be very tough mentally to get over. And you might not recognize some of the good work you're doing because you're just so focused on what can I do to get to the next level to get better. And you have to remember that as well when you are your own boss, is not only, push yourself to do better, but you also do need to be kind to yourself. So overall, I think entrepreneurship is a great thing. Please don't think I'm bashing entrepreneurship. I just think that some arguments, both in favor and against entrepreneurship, get blown quite a bit out of proportion, and I think it's important, to tell people the right thing. So if you're an entrepreneur and you've got an idea and you want to have a go at it, by all means go for it. And if you're an employee in a company and you love what you do and it's working out for you, don't feel bad because you're not an entrepreneur. You can still build wealth, you can still do great with your finances, and you can still, have a fulfilling career and find purpose in your life that way as well. And another finance influencer from the UK, Peter Komalafe, also known as Conversation of Money, he's discussed a lot of the points that I've mentioned in this video as well on his Instagram. And I think he's got it spot on as well that, entrepreneurship isn't all what it's made out to be on social media, and people really need to give it some serious thought before they dive head first into it and quit their jobs. And at the same time, he says as well, you can get wealthy, you can build wealth from a job as well. So there you go. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video, guys. I hope you found it informative and helpful. Leave a comment and let me know, have you ever considered entrepreneurship, and what are your thoughts on the points that I discussed in this video? So next time, I'll see you on the next one, and let's get this money.